Discover the incredible moment a little girl revealed family to a lonely CEO, a transformative tale of Jake Thompson. Jake Thompson stood at the edge of his sleek penthouse, the Manhattan skyline sprawled out like a glittering array of unattainable dreams. At 45, he was one of the most successful CEOs in the country but felt trapped in a gilded cage. Despite the lavish lifestyle filled with designer suits and high-stakes meetings, an ache settled in his heart, gnawing at him like an old wound. This failure was not in profit margins or projections, it was the absence of family and love that poisoned his extravagant existence. The day he reluctantly signed up to volunteer at a local school marked an uncomfortable twist in his meticulously curated life. With every step away from the boardroom, he battled the resistance within him. What was a powerful CEO like him doing in a place that looked like it belonged to another world? He could taste the bitterness of his own choices as he entered the classroom, a palpable suffering in his gut. Then, he saw her. Lily, an 8-year-old firecracker, scrubbed away any reluctance he carried. Her laughter cascaded through the room, vibrant and infectious. As she narrated tales of Friday family game nights, Jake felt the density of his loneliness pierce through the corporate veneer he had built around himself. Her stories were laced with genuine joy and love, deeply contrasting the sterile numbers and cold meetings he lived in every day. But then came the creeping realization: her mother, Emily, watched him closely, distrust clinging to her. Photographs of her daughter's innocent joy dotted their modest classroom walls, reminders of the simple, yet profound lives of families untouched by the corporate machine. Suddenly, Jake found himself hesitant, questioning why someone with so much power would waste his time on a mere outreach program. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jake became entangled in Lily's whimsical world, his internal struggle morphed into a growing tension. He longed for connection, yet in the back of his mind echoed his father's words: "Finish strong, Jake. Don't lose sight of ambition." He grappled with his carefully built empire, aware that every deal and driven decision had come at a price. Was success worth a lifetime of loneliness? Just as he began to envision a world where he could blend both ambition and warmth, a call from his office shattered the fragile moment. A scandal had erupted at his company, the headlines screaming betrayal. He felt his heart race, his world tipping into chaos. Would he dive back into saving the empire that had perpetuated his alienation, or could he step into the light of humility that Lily had offered? Standing on the precipice of a choice that would redefine his life, he held that phone in his shaking hand, the weight of his decision heavy. How could he choose one legacy over the other? The tension escalated, leaving him gasping for resolution, the air thick with uncertainty about what path to take. Jake's heart thundered, the phone clutched tightly in his palm. The image of Lily's beaming face faded into the backdrop of his mind, overshadowed by the bleak reality that was calling him back. The scandal, each word transmitted through the receiver like jagged glass, seemed to shatter his newfound perspective. His instincts screamed to rush back to his empire, to wield the authority he had spent years cultivating, but with each passing moment, a deeper conviction surged within him. Who was he, really? A figurehead who shaped numbers, or a man yearning for community? The bustling city streets below beckoned him toward a different purpose, and each honking cab echoed the internal battle. Panic and determination coiled together in a tight knot as his thoughts spiraled. What would it mean to step away from the crisis at hand? He envisioned confrontation in the boardroom, the familiar faces of his executives, and the frustration of his peers. The familiar roles he played: the unyielding leader, the resolute decision-maker, felt like chains now, binding him to a version of himself that was decaying from the inside out. He took a deep breath, grounding himself in the here and now, allowing Lily's laughter to resonate in his mind once again. She had awakened something dormant within him, a flicker of hope flickering just beyond despair. Could he really forge a different path, one where his professional life intertwined with personal fulfillment? With a brusque movement, he ended the call before another name could escape his lips. His company could survive this without him, at least for a moment. This was a test, a choice made not out of negligence, but of profound realization. He looked at the school's address on his phone, knowing Lily was waiting for him, thinking of the playful spirit that had managed to breach the walls he had crafted. As he stepped away from the precipice of his corporate world, there was an unsettling thrill in his gut. Money couldn't bring family or genuine connection. He was willing to risk everything to understand what a shared Wednesday morning, a firm handshake, or a genuine smile could mean. The streets felt foreign yet familiar as he made his way back to the school, far removed from the gulf of high-rises that loomed over him. Each step was a declaration of his commitment to change. This path could unveil his hidden potential. But doubts lingered like shadows, challenging his resolve. What would Emily think of him now? Would she still regard him with skepticism, or had he begun to craft a new narrative for himself? Arriving at the school, Jake hesitated for a moment. The children's chatter danced through the air, yet he felt like an imposter prepared to unveil a new side previously hidden from himself. A deep urge to connect clashed with the fear of rejection. He took another breath, steeling himself for the uncertainty that awaited. As he entered the classroom, the noise faded into a comforting hum. Lily spotted him first, her round face lighting up in pure delight. But next to her, Emily's gaze remained guarded, her eyebrows furrowing, a tangible reminder that changing hearts took more than good intentions. Would he find the courage to show his true self, or would the fear of judgment swallow him whole? The moment whispered an ultimatum, urged him forward with promises of possibility, yet left him fretting about the pull of his past. And as he stood there, both vulnerable and determined, a new realization dawned upon him. The legacy of Jake Thompson could either remain rooted in corporate triumphs or could evolve into something far more human, far more meaningful. But which path he would choose still hung in the balance, dangling perilously as uncertainty loomed over him. Jake felt the weight of that pivotal moment pressing down hard, knowing that soon, he would have to confront the fears of his heart or let them dictate his every move. Would he take the plunge into a real connection, or would his past pull him back to the realm of isolation? Jake stood frozen at the threshold of the classroom, the laughter and energy of the children swirling around him like a vibrant tapestry woven from innocence and joy. His heart raced, not from the adrenaline of a corporate deal but from the intense pressure to connect, to open himself in ways he had long buried beneath layers of professional armor. Lily skipped toward him, her eyes sparkling with unfiltered enthusiasm that seemed to slice through his trepidation. "Mr. Thompson! You came," she exclaimed, drawing near with an innocence that coaxed out his smile. This was no longer the Jake who had commanded boardrooms with brash confidence. He felt vulnerable, as if stepping onto a stage with no script, raw and exposed. In that instant, Jake realized something shifted within him. Lily's excitement stirred something dormant, amplifying a flicker of possibility that had emerged during his walk to the school. Could acceptance coexist with vulnerability? He knelt down to her level, meeting her gaze. "I wouldn't miss it for the world." The moment drew Emily's watchful eye. She remained on the periphery with her arms crossed, a physical barrier to her inner skepticism. Jake could feel her scrutiny like a spotlight searching for flaws in his newfound resolve. Doubt ignited a surge of insecurity within him. Was this enough? Could he truly redefine himself before her? As the class ended, the children buzzed with an exuberance Jake had almost forgotten existed, a stark contrast to the bleakness of his corporate life. Each laugh and squeal sent reverberations through him, echoing whispers of the man he wanted to become. Intrigued yet daunted, he gathered the courage to approach Emily, who had already started tidying the classroom, her demeanor a mixture of duty and reluctance. "Emily," he began, unsure if he was inviting her criticism or conversation. "I know this isn't what you expected from me." Her gaze lifted, laced with guarded curiosity. "What do you mean?" "I'm used to steering projects, leading teams. But I need something different," he admitted, the words tumbling out with unaccustomed earnestness. "Today, I want to understand what it means to connect. To be part of something that isn't just driven by profit or performance." She studied him, the tension in her shoulders slowly easing. Was it disbelief or hope he detected behind her steady gaze? It was hard to tell, yet her skepticism felt increasingly lighter. "It's a big leap, Jake. What makes you think you can change?" He thought about it. The change hadn't come from outward success or accolades, but through that simple connection with Lily. "I don't know if I can change overnight, but I'm willing to try. I'm tired of living on the surface. I want to discover what it feels like to belong," he said, his voice shaky but resolute. Emily raised an eyebrow, softening. "Intention without action means nothing."
Will you show up, even when it gets hard? This job isn't just about playtime. It requires commitment. Her challenge ignited a clarity in Jake. It wasn't enough to show up once, he needed to forge bonds, genuine, resilient relationships that required ongoing effort and vulnerability. I will. I'll show up. For both of you, he pledged, the conviction in his voice deepening. A slow smile formed on her lips, hinting at fledgling trust. Then let us see what that looks like. But be warned, it's not an easy path. As he looked around the room alive with color and laughter, an exhilarating pulse surged through him, the understanding that his journey to self-discovery was just beginning, but lurking beneath the surface was a nagging question: would this commitment withstand the pressures of his corporate world? The thoughts twisted in his mind, fueling his urgency to prove himself. Tomorrow would demand a test, a confrontation between his old self and the brave new man he aspired to be. As dusk settled, Jake resolved to face whatever came next, stepping beyond the comfort of his past, toward the uncertain yet hopeful path ahead. What awaited him in that crucible of growth and challenge? The time had come to face his past decisions. Would they tether him to confinement, or could they be the fuel for a transformation that defined a new legacy? Jake awoke the next morning, dawn breaking like a promise outside his window. The lingering doubts of the night before clung to him, yet he felt the stirrings of determination. Today marked a crucial step toward the changes he yearned for. It was time to confront the implications of his commitment. As he prepared for the day, he replayed his intentions in his mind: to be present, to connect, and to embrace vulnerability. Each time the familiar specter of corporate demands whispered in his ear, he solidified his resolve. He wouldn't retreat into the armored shell he had cultivated over years of navigating boardroom battles. Arriving at the school, Jake was confronted by a cacophony of sound, a blend of laughter, chatter, and playful chaos. He could see Lily, now in the company of other children, her laughter a clear, joyous bell that seemed to ring directly to his heart. As he approached the classroom, he felt a swell of nervousness, yet something deeper, a flicker of hope. "Mr. Thompson!" Lily squealed, bounding over to him. The authenticity in her affection soothed his anxious spirit. "Hello, Lily. I'm here to help with your class today," he said, attempting to sound confident while struggling with his internal dialogue, questioning whether he belonged among these young souls. As the morning progressed, Jake plunged into the day's activities, assisting the children with their projects and listening to their stories. Each interaction peeled back layers of his carefully constructed persona, replacing silence with laughter and doubt with connection. When a child struggled to color within the lines, Jake echoed Emily's challenges about not only teaching them academically but emotionally as well. "It's okay to go outside the lines. It helps the picture come alive," he encouraged, feeling a resonance within himself. This simple act became a turning point. He discovered that there was power in his newfound vulnerability, and that it did not signify weakness, but rather a deeper form of strength. He began to realize that in nurturing the children's creativity, he was rekindling his own. After a particularly vibrant art session, Jake approached Emily, who was watching him from the side, arms still crossed but with a softer expression. "How am I doing?" he ventured, still wrestling with the vestiges of doubt. "Surprisingly well," she admitted, a hint of a smile breaking through. "But actions speak louder than words. Will you continue this when it's not easy?" Jake hesitated, the weight of ambition pressing upon him. The corporate world beckoned, its siren call promising prestige and success. But a fleeting thought of returning to the sterile confines of meetings and profit margins sent a shiver of resistance through him. "I think I might want to do more than just today. I want to be part of this, of their growth and mine." Emily scrutinized him, and he felt as if she could see through his facade directly into the raw, unadulterated core of his struggles. "Then show me. Show these kids that your words have meaning." Jake nodded, resolve firming within him. It was clear that this was no transient phase, but a fundamental shift toward a life enriched by genuine connection. He envisioned a balance where his corporate acumen could nurture his newfound passion, merging both worlds into something valuable. But as he stepped away from Emily, a sudden pang of uncertainty gripped him. Would his commitment hold up against the prevailing winds of ambition? The question nagged and shadowed his heart as he felt the undercurrents of the corporate world tugging at his consciousness. There was work to be done, and balances to strike. As he prepared to delve deeper into this new reality,
he sensed an impending test to clash between his evolving identity and the once familiar allegiance to his corporate status.
Jake's mind raced with possibilities and potential pitfalls.
Something monumental awaited the uncharted territory of reconciling his past with his vision for the future.
How would he navigate this terrain where every choice shaped his new legacy? With determination.
Reigniting within, he took a step forward, ready for the trials ahead. But the looming pressure of his dual life pressed heavily upon him, stirring anticipation.
Would he emerge intact, or would the dichotomy prove too great to traverse? Jake stepped into the following week with a renewed sense of purpose, though the frequency of his internal conflicts was becoming palpable.
Each moment spent at school felt like a warm sunbeam, contrasting sharply with the sterile chill of his corporate office. Engaging with the children was refreshing, yet it drew attention to every hesitation he held about returning to the rigid demands of his professional life. It was during a routine debrief with the staff that the first real challenge arose. Sitting in a conference room filled with familiar faces, Jake felt the heaviness of expectation weighing down on him. The discussion shifted toward upcoming projects and revenue targets, and he found himself tuning out, drowning in thoughts of the children. As the business plan unfolded, he couldn't shake the guilt creeping in. A part of him wanted to pour his efforts into areas where he felt inspired, where he'd witnessed the flicker of excitement in young eyes.
Yet, the pull of duty was strong.
His colleagues spoke in jargon, comfortably navigating the metrics while he grappled with his competing priorities.
"Jake? Are you with us?"
His boss's voice cut through the fog.
"Yeah, sorry.
Just thinking about the numbers," he lied, but the truth was that he was thinking about the stories shared during art projects.
How could he express this yearning for a more meaningful existence amidst those who thrived on shareholder profits?
"Let us keep our focus on expanding our market share," his boss continued, oblivious to Jake's internal disarray. Each strategic buzzword felt like a brick in the wall he was trying to dismantle. The moment he redirected his value toward nurturing creativity, he found himself buckling under the old constructs that defined success. That evening, surrounded by his laptop and half-empty takeout containers, he sat at the crossroads of his career. The fight within him intensified as he contemplated his path forward. Should he strive for promotion, which would allow him to shape company culture, or should he immerse himself fully in the heartwarming chaos of the classroom? With the biting winds of corporate ambition swirling around him, he could almost hear the remnants of Emily's voice, "Show me. Show these kids that your words have meaning." Her challenge echoed in his mind like an unfulfilled promise. He wanted to do more than just talk about change, he wanted to be an agent of it. The next morning, bolstered by a fleeting moment of clarity, Jake decided to invite a small group of children to his office for a shadow day. He envisioned an event that would blend worlds, the children experiencing the corporate environment while seeing passion in action. Shoulders braced against uncertainty, he crafted an email to his team, ready to propose the venture. However, as he walked into the office, a wave of disbelief rushed over him when he faced resistance.
"What's the point?" one coworker questioned, brows furrowed. "They're just kids. It's not our job to babysit."
Each word felt like a dart aimed at his resolve. The existing paradigm clashed with his vision, igniting determination, that emotional fire that he now recognized as a pivotal ally in his struggle.
Jake took a breath, standing taller against the collective doubts.
"Because they are the future," he responded, his voice steady despite the rising tumult inside him.
"And perhaps we have something to learn from them. Creativity has no age restrictions."
But doubt lingered in the air, and as the meeting drew to a close, Jake could feel the weight of the company's expectations pressing against him. Would he be able to fuse his past with this emerging identity without succumbing to the relentless pull of his corporate self? Stepping out, he felt an urgent need for clarity, for direction leading to that ultimate reckoning of his dual existence. He needed guidance and support, someone who understood the complexity of his choices moving forward. That night, he reached out to Emily, crafting a message filled with both questions and the hope for guidance. Her insight had brought newfound awareness, yet as he hit send, he felt the slight tremor of trepidation. Could he navigate this transformation without losing sight of who he was beneath all the roles he played? What awaited him next might just illuminate the path he needed to take. The response he received could change everything, pushing him toward the crucial turning point in his journey.
Would he dare not only to embrace vulnerability but also to catalyze transformation in a world that often resisted it?
Jake awoke the next day with a low hum of anticipation thrumming beneath his skin. He couldn't ignore the impending response from Emily, a lifeline he had cast into his turbulent sea of uncertainty. The sun streamed through his window, illuminating not just the room but igniting a flicker of hope within him. Set on drawing strength from the children's spirits, he prepared for the day with a firm intention. He would approach the shadow day with both excitement and a sense of urgency. Arriving at the office, Jake's resolve was instantly met with skepticism. "I still don't see the point of this," a colleague sneered, bitterness emanating from her as if she were defending a fortress. "These kids aren't our responsibility, we're here to meet quotas, not mind the future." Her words knotted in his stomach, yet he held his ground. It would be easy to succumb to the status quo, to slide back into the comfort of compliance with corporate culture. He resisted that temptation, channels of inspiration recollecting past conversations with Emily. "Hasn't anyone ever told you that nurturing creativity directly correlates to success?" Jake said, letting the defiance in his voice ring true. He spent the morning organizing the logistics of the shadow day, feeling kinship with the children's naive enthusiasm. He studied their eager faces from last week's class photographs, each smile hitting him like a reminder that there lay a purpose beyond his daily grind. When lunchtime came, he retreated to his office. Just as he settled into the quiet, an email notification broke his concentration. It was Emily. As he opened her message, he felt his pulse quicken, the weight of it filling the room around him. "I've seen the spark in you, Jake. Embrace that gleam," she wrote, a gentle encouragement wrapped in kindness. But there was another piece. "If you'd like, I can join you for the shadow day. Sometimes it helps to have an ally." Relief washed over him, but the apprehension soon crept back. Could he confront the uncertainties of corporate life with someone who would unveil his struggles? Did he want her to witness his vulnerabilities? Torn between gratitude and fear, he quickly typed a reply, different from the usual bland corporate exchanges. "Yes. I'd love that. Thank you for believing in this." The remainder of the day unfolded as an exhilarating mix of preparation and nervous energy. Jake sought out every task future visitors might require, transforming sterile meeting rooms into vibrant spaces conducive to wonder and questioning. He drew confidence from the thought of Emily's support, and as he laid out their schedules, he could picture the energy the children would bring, igniting a shift in the office ambience. Later that week, the shadow day arrived along with a palpable tension. The children clustered around him, wide-eyed and brimming with curiosity. In stark contrast to the boardroom's sterile professionalism, their innocence radiated warmth. Each child's eager question was a reminder of what he yearned to steer toward, a space where imagination thrived. As Emily walked in, her smile lit up the room. The contrast of their worlds ignited a sense of power, the bright spirits of children next to cleansed corporate jargon. She joined Jake near a small group, guiding them in conversation about design principles as they unexpectedly installed intent and design into discussions that had long felt mundane, but beneath the surface, discomfort stirred within Jake. While he immersed himself in the joy of the moment, an underlying fear gripped him. Would he ultimately disappoint both the children and his own deeply buried aspirations? His heart raced, wondering if this would spark transformative change or merely validate existing fears of inadequacy. As the day progressed, spirited laughter and genuine engagement flowed, yet the shadow of his corporate life loomed. Jake would later reflect on this day as pivotal, unsure if he could maintain the duality without slipping back into the rigid expectations of his job. He felt the impending decision pressing. It was time to catalyze change beyond himself. The faint sound of the children's laughter filled the air while an impending confrontation with himself and his purpose loomed closer. Would he finally embrace the chance to redefine success on his terms? Each moment he stayed tethered to this experience pushed him closer to the edge of a significant evolution. Holding tight to the belief that creativity could break through, Jake took a deep breath, ready to step into whatever awaited him. Then, an unexpected turn of events struck, reshaping the course of the day. A little girl raised her hand, and Jake realized he might just have to confront the most daunting question of all. What made family in the face of professional isolation? Jake felt an unmistakable tension tighten in his chest as the little girl's hand shot up, her youthful innocence marking a stark contrast to the looming existential questions swirling in his mind. He understood that this moment would not simply be a passing exchange, it had the potential to unravel the tightly woven fabric of his corporate identity. The echoes of her inquiry lingered in the air, pressing on him like a weight he both dreaded and craved to confront. "Mr. Jake," she began, her voice quivering with a blend of courage and curiosity.
"What is a family?"
The question, although simple in its delivery, pierced through the veneer of professionalism he decultivated like a spear, striking deep into his unresolved feelings about his own life. As she looked up at him, her large eyes searching for an answer deeper than words, he felt an invisible thread pulling at his heart. In that moment, surrounded by the laughter and chaos of children, he understood the core of her inquiry extended beyond mere semantics. It was a question about belonging, identity, and connection, elements of his existing life that felt increasingly distant. He took a slow breath, hands trembling slightly as he searched for words. "A family as well, it's more than just people who live together or share blood," he began, the sentence forming not as a scripted reply but as an expression of the feelings swirling within him. "It's about support, love, and feeling safe with those around you. It's when you share your dreams and fears and help each other grow." As the children listened intently, Jake found an unexpected clarity within himself. He was standing at a precipice, his corporate existence hanging in the balance. The children's questions ignited something dormant, a longing for authenticity and connection that corporate success had smothered. He realized his extrapolations on family mirrored the void he felt in his professional life, an environment rife with competition, devoid of empathy or care. Curtains of doubt clouded his vision. Could he truly lead a life that embraced these ideals, or was he too entrenched in a reality that valued productivity over connection? As he spoke, memories flooded back, moments of isolated ambition, sterile office interactions, and the weight of expectations placed upon him as a high-performing employee. Emotions surged: fear, regret, hope intertwining in a chaotic dance. The little girl's face brightened as she nodded thoughtfully, digesting his words. It was as if the sheer simplicity of her query encouraged him to wrestle with profound truths he had long buried. In her eyes, he saw validation; in her innocent question, he perceived a challenge. He could feel Emily's presence beside him, observing the exchange unfold and perhaps catching the undertow of his internal struggle. He wanted to turn to her, to seek her opinion and reassurance, but he felt the need to own this moment alone. This might be the pivotal point that shifted everything. Yet, even amid this revelation, an insistent ache pulsed within him. How could he bridge the chasm between his professional responsibilities and personal yearnings? Would he let the warmth of these interactions transform his understanding of family into a clearer vision for his future? The day continued, the laughter and curiosity of the children framing his thoughts, but uncertainty began to wrap around him once more. The clock was ticking toward a moment when he could either choose to siphon off the courage ignited within him or retreat into familiar shadows. As the children engaged in a creative project, he realized he would have to make a decision soon. A crossroads was approaching, laden with risk yet brimming with potential. With the day's end looming and the shadow of his corporate life steadily encroaching, he felt an ember of determination spark within him. He needed to explore this revelation about family further. What would it cost him to lean into this newfound understanding? The air buzzed with energy, and Jake felt a decision coolly brewing at the edges of his consciousness. A choice that would ultimately redefine the contours of his life. Tomorrow, he would need to confront the stark reality of his existence. Was he prepared to dismantle the walls built around his ambitions for the sake of rediscovering warmth and connection? As he weighed his possible breakthrough against the risk of his career, he imagined the possibility of living a life infused with family spirit, even amidst glaring professional isolation. But as evening approached, a nagging thought lingered: could he truly take that leap, or would he allow fear to dictate his future once more? Jake awoke the next morning with a different heaviness in his chest, not the familiar weight of corporate expectations, but an anxious anticipation, as if the universe was quietly nudging him toward a revelation. The remnants of the little girl's innocent query consumed his thoughts. He rolled over, glancing at the clock, the day stretching out before him like blank pages waiting to be filled. As the morning light filtered through the window, he began organizing his thoughts with an urgency he hadn't felt in years. What did family truly mean to him? The question clanged in his mind, begging for deep exploration. He had dedicated his life to climbing the corporate ladder, yet standing at the top, he found himself looking down at an empty landscape where connection should have thrived. His reflection deepened during breakfast. He mechanically chewed toast as his mind raced.
Could the answers lie in the warmth of human interaction he so eagerly pushed away? Did that warmth not only exist within personal relationships but also within the professional network he had cultivated over the years? He sensed a shift taking place. The walls were threatening to crumble. Arriving at the office, Jake couldn't shake off the resolve carrying him forward. He navigated through his usual morning routine, but his encounters felt different. Instead of the usual banter with colleagues about numbers and deadlines, he found himself initiating conversations about their lives, their dreams, and even their fears. With each personal exchange, the barriers between him and his colleagues began to melt, revealing layers of understanding previously masked by corporate personas. The shift was almost palpable. As he shared anecdotes about his childhood, paralleling his experiences with theirs, he felt a flicker of belonging emerge. In those moments of connection, Jake realized he was not solely in pursuit of a corporate identity, he was in search of meaningful relationships. As he sat in a meeting, surrounded by well-tailored suits and sharpened pencils, he felt an urge rising within him, propelling him beyond business talk. "I know we're here to discuss quarterly results," he started, the words hesitating on the edge of his tongue, "but I think it's just as important to acknowledge how each of us contributes to our team's culture." His colleagues' puzzled faces revealed their confusion, yet he pressed on, diving into a narrative of collaboration and support rather than profit margins and performance outcomes. His supervisor, Henry, raised an eyebrow but simply nodded, curiosity piqued. This newfound courage built within him, rekindling his sense of authenticity. For every nod of acknowledgement from a colleague, the tension in his chest loosened. Maybe dismantling the walls didn't have to mean surrendering everything. Perhaps it was possible to weave together ambition and connection. The day progressed, and with every conversation about shared aspirations or personal struggles, he saw flickers of this new dynamic take shape among his team. They began to laugh more, share stories during breaks, and explore collaborative projects with newfound enthusiasm. It was as if Jake had opened a door to an alternate reality, one that blended productivity with genuine human connection. However, as the sun dipped lower in the sky, doubts crept back in. Could this be sustained? Would they retreat once ordinary pressures reasserted themselves? Was his corporate climb really as steep as he perceived, or was it merely a product of his own isolation? That sense of fear loomed, but another understanding loomed larger: his actions could ignite a change. Perhaps the time had come to face the harsh realities that awaited him, not just about himself, but about his role as a leader. What if he created an office culture built on respect and empathy rather than competition? The thought lit a fire within him, a determination to pull back the proverbial curtain not only on his life but the corporate environment surrounding him. But as he grappled with such ambitions, an unsettling notion formed at the back of his mind: success defined by connection bore risks he had long avoided. To challenge the status quo meant inviting uncertainty, potentially ruffling feathers or pushing against the tide of corporate tradition. Jake's heart raced as he pondered the implications. Would he step forward into the unknown, risking his carefully constructed reputation for a more authentic existence? Tomorrow would come, and with it, the chance to decide whether to pursue this path toward creating not just a workplace, but a family. The question loomed: could he reshape his identity and redefine success before the opportunity slipped away? Jake awoke the following morning, the weight of his ambition replaced by a new urgency pulsating through him. A metamorphosis had begun, and with it, an unusual blend of excitement and trepidation coursed through his veins. He sat up, taking a deep breath, allowing the potential of the day to settle in. Today was not about spreadsheets or quarterly reports, it was about reinforcing connections and truly understanding his team. He arrived at the office with an unusual bounce in his step, feeling the energy of change thrumming within him. Yet, doubt still lurked in the shadows of his optimism. What if his team pushed back? What if they resisted this new approach? Ignoring the skepticism, he resolved to keep his focus on the goal, creating a culture anchored in empathy and collaboration. As he walked through the bustling office, he found himself stopping at Jill's desk, the quietest member of his team. "Jill," he began, choosing his words carefully, "how are you feeling about our latest project?" Her surprised glance morphed into a slow smile. "I think we're making progress, but I've been struggling with the data analysis." I didn't want to seem like I was falling behind. His gut tightened. He understood that fear all too well, it mirrored his own insecurities. "You shouldn't feel that way. We're in this together," he replied, actively listening to her concerns.
They exchanged a few ideas, and a spark of enthusiasm ignited in her eyes. It was a small exchange, but from it, Jake felt proud. A flicker of the connection he so desperately sought. Wandering further into the office, he stumbled upon a group of colleagues gathered around the coffee machine. Instead of stepping back into the shadow of cynicism, he approached. "What's the latest?" he asked, leaning in, eager to join the conversation. The usual corporate jargon was absent, replaced by laughter and shared stories that felt vibrant, alive. They were discussing their weekend plans, and without hesitation, Jake shared his newfound love for hiking, admitting he had done little of it before. The revelation changed the atmosphere, smiles spread, and a sense of camaraderie emerged. For the first time, Jake realized that his struggle to connect was echoed among them. Yet, his heart raced as he felt the challenge palpable in the air. Was this just a momentary spark? Could he sustain this newfound ethos? As he reflected, he found his resolve hardening. This was no ordinary office interaction. It was the genesis of a new culture. At the next team meeting, determined to elevate the conversation, he proposed integrating a segment about personal highlights and challenges into their weekly agenda. "I know it's unconventional, but I believe it will emphasize our investment in each other," he declared, anticipation coiling in his stomach as he awaited their reactions. Silence reigned for a heartbeat, and then murmurs emerged among his colleagues. Some nodded, while others looked uncertain. Jake felt a rush of adrenaline, aware he had breached a boundary. Let us not dismiss it. Let us simply try. Slowly, hesitantly, his team began to share, the barriers cracking under the weight of genuine interactions. Their responses unleashed deeper conversations, and with every shared story, particles of trust transformed into liquid courage. Despite the exhilaration of progress, Jake remained haunted by the risk he had taken. Would his relationship-driven experiment disrupt productivity? Would his own unwillingness to conform lead to backlash? Anxiety settled uncomfortably in the pit of his stomach. Returning home that evening, he found himself lost in thought. The echoes of the day replayed in his mind, conversations filled with laughter, vulnerability, and authentic connection. Yet, a sense of looming tension nagged at him. Could he forge a path where connection triumphed over the landscape of competition? As the moon cast shadows across his living room, Jake felt the weight of his journey palpable. He was at a crossroads. It dawned on him that while risk accompanied his newfound approach, the potential for transformation shone brighter. But would he have the fortitude to press forward when faced with inevitable challenges? The question lingered in the depths of his heart. Would he champion this cultural revolution, or would he retreat to the safety of traditional corporate confines? Tomorrow would unveil the critical choice lying ahead, a test that could redefine not only his career but the lives of his team. Jake stood at the threshold of a pivotal moment, firmly anchored in the realization that his corporate life was a mere facade coaxing him into an unsustainable existence. Weeks of vulnerability and genuine connection had illuminated his path, and with a sharpened sense of purpose, he knew he was ready to step into the fullness of himself. Now, as he walked through the bustling office, the energy felt different. The employees, once buried in reports and figures, exchanged glances filled with newfound camaraderie. This vibrant atmosphere was not an accident. It mirrored the shifts within Jake, a shift from cold formulas to warm interactions. He felt invigorated, ready to usher in a new era defined by authenticity, empathy, and mutual support. Today, he would present an initiative that would redefine the workplace culture while solidifying his commitment to both personal and professional growth. Gathered in the meeting room, Jake prepared to unveil a mentoring program that fostered connections between seasoned professionals and newer employees. Opening the presentation, he allowed his passion to radiate through his words. "We're not just colleagues," he began, his voice steady, "we're a community capable of growth together." As he outlined the program, he watched his colleagues lean in, engaged by the idea of cultivating a workplace that championed connection. Each section resonated with their collective experiences, and the proposal no longer felt like an isolated endeavor. It was a shared vision that paved the way for meaningful relationships. This was a break from tradition that compelled Jake forward. Their responses were overwhelmingly enthusiastic, signaling a collective hunger for a culture rooted in empathy. Questions blended with excitement as they brainstormed how to make the program a reality. The voices in the room affirmed Jake's belief in connection, He was no longer an empire builder merely observing from a distance, he was a pivotal force in nurturing an evolving community. After the meeting concluded, a familiar face approached him, Emily. Her expression bore evidence of approval mixed with curiosity. "You really went for it," she remarked, pride evident in her voice. "This could change everything." Jake felt a swell of satisfaction, knowing he had boldly crossed the threshold from solitary ambition to shared aspirations. "I believe we can build something incredible, Emily. Something more than just profit margins." Later that week, as the initiative rolled out and employees were introduced to the structured mentorship program, Jake observed the tangible benefits unfolding. Team members who had previously seemed disconnected began engaging in meaningful conversations, sharing ideas and personal challenges. As Jake mirrored their enthusiasm, he felt the flowering of genuine connections. Walls previously held high were dismantled, revealing the humanity behind corporate facades. Both Emily and Jake found themselves navigating this new reality hand in hand, collaborators committed to a shared mission, dismantling isolation while reinforcing community. They began organizing team events focused on storytelling and creativity, encouraging individuals to share personal experiences while bolstering professional relationships. Each event ignited a spark of fulfillment in Jake, evidence that his quest for belonging and connection was coming to fruition. Months passed, and with each interaction, Jake grew into a leader recognized not just for his business acumen but for his sincere investment in people. His confidence solidified through victories no longer defined by numbers alone, but by the laughter and enthusiasm echoing throughout the office. Employees expressed gratitude for the mentorship program, describing how meaningful relationships had transformed their experience at work. Receiving a formal recognition award for his contributions, Jake stood before his team, a sea of familiar faces reflecting joy and pride. The weight of fear and doubt that once shadowed his past had vanished, replaced by recognition of his competence and transformative leadership. The applause that cascaded through the room was not merely for corporate success, it celebrated authenticity that had become the core of their shared mission. And Jake was finally at peace and solitude. He reflected on the winding journey that had led to this upward trajectory. No longer confined to the corporate cage of loneliness he once inhabited, he had conquered the isolation that marked his existence and discovered the profound warmth of family in both personal and professional realms. The vision he had once hesitated to embrace was now clear. He had successfully woven together ambition and community, solidifying his role as an agent of transformation. Today was not just a moment to accept an award, it was the culmination of a journey defined by genuine connections, profound realization, and a relentless commitment to be more. The path unveiled not only led to professional heights but also elevated the meaning of success in his life to an entirely new dimension. Now, with steadfast determination coursing through his veins and palpable pride swelling in his chest, Jake knew he would continue to champion connection above all else, cultivating a nurturing space where everyone could thrive. This decisive evolution was undeniable. Jake Thompson had achieved not just career success but also the invaluable treasure of human connection, crafting a legacy that resonated with purpose and integrity. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now, because this is the moment to show your support. I promise, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Don't wait even one more second to share this with those who inspire you to overcome.